Our guest today is Laura Ingemi. Laura is one of the 7 candidates running for school committee in the April 3rd Milford annual town election. Welcome, Laura.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Al?
Why don't you tell us the most complex question? Why are you running?
Okay. Well, I'm running because I want to give back to the community that I live in. I am a lifelong Milford resident. I live in the town with my husband and my 3 daughters, ages 7, 5, and 2. Olivia, Alexa, and Juliana. I am a teacher, so I'm an educator as well as a parent and also a businesswoman. So I'm looking to use my experience in those areas to give back to our community and have a positive impact on our educational system.
You were in business and then you left to become a teacher, correct?
I did, yes.
So what did you do in the business world?
So I went to Holy Cross, and in my senior year, I was a math major. In my senior year, I took an accounting class, 2nd semester, and I just really liked it.
Taken after your dad?
Yes, yeah, he was also, he is an accountant as well. So I took that and I decided I really wanted to pursue that. So I went into Northeastern and I got my master's in accounting and my MBA, and I worked in public accounting at Ernst & Young in Boston. So I was in internal audit.
Okay.
So why did you move into education?
Well, so I actually started when I decided I wanted to be a math major at Holy Cross. My sophomore year, I actually did the pre-practicum program as for education. I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to be a teacher. I really value education and think it's super important. And so then after being in business for 5 years, I decided, no, education actually really is my passion, and went back to get my degree and become a teacher.
Okay, and you're in Hopedale High or elementary?
High school.
Okay.
So I mainly teach 11th and 12th grade.
Seniors and juniors.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So
Okay,
my
your
students.
seniors are probably just starting to get senioritis.
Yeah, actually. More so after April vacation, I think. Once April vacation comes, they don't have
check out.
Yeah, they don't have too much time left after that. So, but right now we're still focused. We're doing a great job, but they are getting accepted into colleges right now, which is really exciting.
Must be good to see the kids you've taught go on, and start getting an idea of their future.
Yeah, and that's part of what I do with them is I help them kind of hopefully figure out their future, is that I do the internship program. So my students have an opportunity to work in the local community at local businesses.
Okay,
and
some of which are here
apply.
at Milford TV where we take.
Yeah, exactly. One
Okay.
is here at Milford TV, exactly.
Okay.
Now, they obviously, the next school committee members or school committee, you have 3 charges. That's policy, budget, and hire and fire the superintendent. As a teacher, you're going to have to step away from your experience with teaching. How are you going to deal with that?
Well, I think I can use my experience in the classroom and being part of a school to do all 3 things.
Because it's going to be, they're going to do some things that may be different.
That'll be different, yes.
And you're going, well, wait a second, I'm a teacher, so I really understand all this, and that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough to cope with.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, there'll be some challenges, but I do think.
Excuse me, but if you get in, you'll also have a principal on the school committee.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah. Yeah, and I've been able to, use her expertise so far, and I reached out to her and asked her about being on the committee, and yeah, it's been great. The collaboration, the communication is fantastic.
Now, are there any things specifically that you want to go after or want to focus on?
Well, I think I would like to use my experience in Hopedale and connecting with the local businesses. I think, creating those opportunities for our students to make connections to career and what they want to do for after they graduate so that they can get an understanding of the world of work. I think that would be really beneficial to develop those partnerships.
So you like to see some partnerships with business?
Yeah.
Beyond the ones that
Beyond the ones
there?
that are already there, because there already are some. Obviously, we have the banking program, so Milford Federal is inside of the school, right by the cafeteria. So
you
there's
have the
that.
hospitality program.
And the hospitality and tourism. So yeah, they definitely have some business partnerships, but I'd like to see us expand on those.
Anything else? Any other?
Plan to use the accounting background at all and help on the budget?
Yeah, I'll use my accounting background for
That'll
sure.
be good.
Yeah, it will be.
That'd be advantageous. Anything else?
Yeah. So other things I'd like to see is the social and emotional learning expanded. I really think that we need to be providing more for our students in that area. And that's something else I would like to see happen in the schools.
Okay, that seems to be the latest,
Yeah.
I don't want to say buzzword, but the latest
Yeah.
trend in education.
Yep.
And I actually got a good education on it from one of the other candidates. But that's looking at the student's life outside of academics, but what's at home, what's in the world, what they bring, so that
Well, that's one of the things.
I was just going to say, so factors that could affect their learning are known to the school system.
Well, that's one of the things that Amy Leone, I just had a presentation with Amy Leone, and that's the focus, one of the focuses they have, the same concept, to understand not just what's going on in school, but going on what's around them in their life, and which will help a great deal.
Well, the argument is if, today both parents work, but if a kid doesn't have a parent or a kid's not fed right, or if the parents have issues, or older brothers and sisters or younger have issues, it's very tough to learn. And it's getting to know those things and take care of them.
Yeah, it's teaching some of the foundation skills that I think our students really need, like the resilience and the empathy and kindness. I mean, at the preschool level, they're starting with the social and emotional learning. Even at that level, which is just taking turns, sharing.
Well, I think it's part of society today where perhaps I know when Al and I grew up, people played outside more.
Well, they communicated face to face. Now kids communicate via their cell phones. And we've had this discussion before. I'm a firm believer that at the door you put your cell phone in the bucket and you don't get it until you come back out of school.
Al likes that idea at school. You just hand it in when you get there. If you need to call mom and dad in an emergency, the school does it.
Right.
But
yeah.
It's kids are growing up different than in the generation when Al and I grew up, and we have to face that. And it's hard sometimes when you look and go, when I was a kid, we could get away with this or we did that, but things are different. I mean, my 27-year-old son jokingly wrote me recently, texted me and said, well, what was the web like when you were young? And I said, well, it was up in the corner and spiders ran through it.
Right.
Because, and then I reminded him, and he's in IT, so he was joking.
Yeah.
But I was reminding him the World Wide Web only came about in the 90s.
Where a chalkboard was a chalkboard. In your case, you wrote on slate tablets, but...
Well, absolutely, but even I have Chromebooks, so we laugh about these things, but we have to understand though that the business world today is vastly different than the business world of 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's global.
Yes.
It's definitely wired.
Yep.
Well, I commented 10 years ago, or probably closer to 15 years ago, that anybody who could not use a computer would be considered functionally illiterate. And I think that's even stronger today.
It's standard today.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at a car today has more computer power than probably your smartphone. But people still think of it as a car, not as a computer.
Yeah.
I mean, they tune your car today by adjusting software, not by going mechanically, the way we would have done when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And people need to realize that. And
Yeah, well, back when you were a kid, you cranked it.
Absolutely. Well, you were on the farm, you had horses. But in any event, though, Bob Tremblay, when he was a superintendent here, once told me that when kids come into the school system, you're educating them for jobs that may not exist yet.
And I think that's a really
Yeah.
a spot-on comment.
It is, because basically when somebody goes into kindergarten, it's another 12 years before they're coming out of the system. And the way society's changing, who knows what's out there. And the other issue, candidly, when you talk about social emotional learning, is from talking to my own children in their 20s, we place an enormous burden on the sophomores, juniors, and seniors to pick a college and a career
Yeah.
at a time when they're not fully matured and developed, and may not know what they are good at or what they want to do.
Well, the other dilemma, and this is a significant issue, is that also there's a need for plumbers and carpenters and people who create things and build things. And there's a serious shortage of that skill set.
In the manufacturing industry as well.
Right.
Well, not just that. If you ask any of the guys running backhoes or bulldozers, they'll tell you they can't find people to come and work for them. And they would love any high school in the area to develop a program that would teach somebody that for 6 months or a year, so that they can, if they're not college material, and not everyone is,
Right.
they can get hired right away and go into that.
And they, you know, a hydraulic license or whatever, so
Yeah.
they can operate.
Yeah.
I mean, and believe me, there's really very good money to be made doing that kind of stuff. I mean, so the sad part about it is we have educated ourselves or pushed our kids into education to a point where we've lost the basic foundation of the country. This country was formed as an agricultural business.
Well, not just that, Al. I think what it is more we are so stuck on everybody needs to go to college to get ahead, whether the student is able to grasp
Correct.
college or not.
Correct.
And some people, socially and emotionally, academically they may, socially and emotionally they can't handle college.
Yeah, and I think that's why we should be teaching the employability skills, because even if you decide to go to college, you can use those skills in college, or you can use them in a career. You know, the communication piece, the teamwork, collaboration,
Right.
work
Yeah.
ethic.
Right. Yes.
You know, professionalism. All of those skills are transferable skills that will serve our students when they graduate, no matter what they decide to do.
And one of your
Correct.
fellow candidates, the youngest one, mentioned it would have been nice if somebody would teach the kids going to college how to negotiate and deal with college loans. Because, you know, the college world today, I think the parents are in for shock, because when the kid goes to college and they're over 18, the loans go in the kid's name, the bills go in the kid's name, and the grades don't come to mom and dad anymore. Even if they pay, they go right to the student.
Right.
And kids are signing loan forms and getting out tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and they have no way to know that they actually signed that much or they're responsible for that much.
Yep.
And they come out and they go to look for a job, and they make it a good starting pay job, but then find out they owe $1,000 a month student loans.
So I'm a big advocate for financial literacy. I think the financial literacy courses are really important in the high school level, especially sophomore, junior year when they're starting to make
Absolutely.
those decisions. I taught that for a number of years. Now the other business teacher at Hopedale teaches it currently. But
Is
it's-
that taught in Milford High right now?
So some of it, I believe, is. They do have a sophomore seminar class where they are teaching some of those skills. But I think it is really important, and personally, I feel as though it should be a graduation requirement to have
It used
those
to be.
skills. Yes, it did.
Economics used to be a graduation
Yep.
requirement, along with government. I would venture to guess that
Civics is coming back, though.
It is.
civics, well, I think civics and economics are the two significant things that have been lost out of it, because we have kids coming out of high school, kids coming out of college, don't have a clue how their own town government works, much less how the
Right.
federal government
Yeah.
works.
Well, we had a
Not
good-
just the kids. Just go read the Milford Facebook page. They already hate me, so I can say this.
Oh,
Most
yes.
of the people posting there don't have a clue how town government or state government works based on the comments they write. Not a clue.
Well, we started last week. We had all the candidates for the selectmen and the school
At the
committee
high school,
high
yeah.
school level. So all the seniors got to participate in that forum, and it was a great opportunity
Good.
for them to see and hear from the candidates and have develop an interest in the local
Well,
government.
that actually was designed as part of the voter, whatever they call it, committee the town has.
Right.
To get more interest in elections.
Yep.
To say, if you're 18 and haven't registered, here's
Yes.
the candidates, go register and vote.
Yep, and I believe the National Honor Society was able to pass out some of the information
Yeah.
for the students so that they were able to do that, just that.
Yeah, and that's never been done before.
No, it was a great opportunity for our students, and I
Yeah.
was really excited to be participating in that.
And I understood they asked an awful lot of very good questions.
They did. They did. They asked great questions.
And I understood from some people that were there, students and adults alike, how do I put this politely? Let's just say they were able to discern between a real, genuine response to their question as opposed to some BS answer.
Yeah,
Ooh, ooh.
we were trying to give specifics when they asked a specific question, which was nice, and I think they appreciated that.
Yeah, if anything, the younger generation, well, some people may find fault with them. I find their level of inquisitiveness and the level of things they know about through the web, and the sources always aren't 100% accurate.
Yeah.
But the fact is, they are probably the best informed generation I've seen. Because when you talk to them about issues, they're well versed in them.
Generally speaking, I would-
Generally speaking.
Generally speaking.
Although they fall prey to the news update per second on whatever social media they're using, as opposed to the sitting and reflecting, reading a weekly news magazine or the daily newspaper that fixed a story in time, as opposed to constant updates. You can actually dwell on it. but I really find them to be enormously well-informed and very interested in things, and I think that's important for us to capitalize on.
Yep, and at the same time, because they're on their phones so much and they are using social media and they are surfing the web, we do need to make sure that they are educated on internet safety and how to protect themselves
Number
online.
one, and number two is to be able to discern the difference between what is good information and
fake
what is
news.
fake news.
Yeah.
Fake news.
Yep.
Fake news. That's not like that, fake news. But the dilemma is that you know, oh, this is the truth. I read it on the web. Well, I'm sorry.
But who wrote it?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I always love there's a little poster you can get, it's Abraham Lincoln saying, don't believe everything you read on the web. And of course, what I used to tell my kids is, hey kids, there's a reason why your colleges won't let you use Wikipedia as a citation in papers. I said, look at Dad. Okay, Dad has edited pages on Wikipedia.
Right.
Do you
Yep.
feel comfortable with Dad
Yep.
being a source? Because they were in error, by the way. I would go correct them.
Yeah, right. So,
But anyway, let's get back to the school
Is
system.
there anything else that you'd change?
I'd like to do some enrichment at the elementary school level. I think that would be really beneficial to our whole school community. In particular, I think foreign language would be nice to bring that back to our elementary school students.
Is it at the middle level now? I know they were.
It is, yep.
They took it away from elementary.
They
though.
took it away from elementary back when we had the budget cuts.
Right, and it is a time when students are proven to learn a lot easier than people at my age. I've been
Yeah.
trying to learn a new language over
you
the
have
last
what?
year, Portuguese,
Oh, wow.
and it's tougher than I thought. I can remember high school French and college Latin like it was yesterday,
Yep.
but it's so tough for me to remember the. Well, the problem is when you teach yourself, they don't teach it the way I learned it in high school and college. They're not teaching you the verb tenses.
Right.
They're not teaching you the grammar. They're
Is it
teaching you
mostly
phrases.
conversation?
Yeah, they're teaching you phrases, and that's not the way I needed it. I needed the old-fashioned way I learned it. If I could sit down and do verb declensions, I'd probably know it a lot better, but I'm teaching myself out of books and tapes, so. But it's a lot easier for the kids to grasp because their minds are more
Absolutely.
open and not cluttered.
Same with music. There are two things that you want to
Right.
engage as early as possible: music and foreign language.
Yep. My daughters actually both play the piano, my two oldest,
Oh,
which I think is really important as well.
Well, absolutely.
So we're actually in the Brookside Talent Show. I'll give a little plug to Brookside's Got Talent.
Oh.
It's actually this Saturday at Stacy Auditorium at 1 o'clock.
That's March 24th.
March 24th, yes, thank you. And so we have a number of acts that will be performing from K through 2, and my daughters will be in that as well.
I'll tell you, you're bringing me to a question I was about to ask, but when you mentioned talent, it brings up the issue of so many things that go, I don't want to say unnoticed, untalked about. At the Citizens for Milford debate, which we are the co-sponsor of last week,
Oh, right, yep.
virtually all of the 7 of you school committee candidates talked about the image of the school system and the choicing out versus choicing in. What would you do specifically to convince people that they should keep their kids in the school system?
Well, I think some of the things I already mentioned, I think the elementary enrichment programs such as foreign language, I think would be really helpful in that area. In particular, I think a lot of families are trying to decide where to send their children at a young age. Typically when they go out, it's usually the kindergarten grade, or it can be another transitional grade like high school.
Or it used to be sports in high school.
Yeah, like high school, so 9th grade. So I think for the kindergarteners, I think, what happens if they do go out in kindergarten, it ends up being a problem because they typically don't come back, and then it ends up being a budget issue because they're out for all those years. So I think if we have some of those enrichment programs at the elementary school level, like foreign language, maybe we can entice some of those students to stay here in the district. But I also think, we need to market ourselves. We do have the marketing subcommittee, so we just need to continue to work on that.
Which is about a year old, so
It's about a year, yep.
It's getting off the ground.
Yep, and so continue to expand in that area to show, families and the residents of Milford all that we have to offer, because we do offer a lot of programming and a lot of great programs at all levels, pre-K through 12.
I mean, I don't cover the school committee for the paper,
Mm-hmm.
and on occasions when I do get called to cover things, particularly at the high school level or the
Mm-hmm.
elementary level, I'm amazed at I want to say the wide variety
Yes,
of things actually being taught in
Yep.
the school system. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know of any other school system in the area. I'll use the example of Milford TV where we tape the show.
yep,
An awful lot of the students that work here
Mm-hmm.
as interns are in the, I don't want to call it audio-visual, it's the video production
radio production.
classes. And I
Yes.
can't think of a high school around that has that dedicated a resource where kids make movies and get interested in that, and that's something that's important. The music, the
and
things
arts.
like the
Absolutely.
just the commitment to the Best Buddies and the special athletic program.
Yep.
I mean, Milford is known around the state for that.
Well, you also, the music department has the choral group, and they have some great musicians and great singers.
You know, and the heritage of this
Absolutely.
town for music goes back decades,
Yep.
Yeah.
as well as sports, but I don't think people realize the depth of
Right.
what people do here.
I think there's a lot of pride in Milford. We take a lot of pride in some of these programs. I think we just need to share some things that are going on and make sure people know what great programs they really truly are.
Well, the dilemma is that the visibility you're getting in some of the state press, so to speak, doesn't cover that kind of stuff. It just shows that the school is a 3 or a 4, and so people look at it and go, well, gee, that's not where I want to be, or whatever.
Yeah,
It
and
doesn't really describe what goes on in the school.
And candidly, as an old newspaper editor taught me about 40 years ago, nobody's going to pick up a paper on a newsstand and want to read a paper that says all planes landed at Logan safely. But if it's, heroin pusher arrested, or murder here, or somebody runs over somebody, if it bleeds, it leads on TV, and that's the image they're going to see of Milford, as opposed to, the Honor Society doing something great. And that's an unfortunate part of life.
Right.
Well, that's the daily papers and the TV stations do that kind of stuff. We, thank goodness, made a decision 25 years ago that we're going to talk about the good things that are going on.
Yep.
So, and that's what we've always done. And I think that's very important that people see that kind of level of stuff going on in the school. I mean, the sports programs here are tremendous. The music programs are tremendous. I'm sure that the educational programs,
And the academics are tremendous.
academics are tremendous.
They are. The list of colleges that the students have gotten into this year is very impressive.
Well, I think people also have to understand, and it's not theory, there's always a bell curve when you measure something. And in terms of grades or test scores, the great majority are at the top of that bell. There's a lot on the slope going to the right of the, more achieving people. But along that comes with, there is a left side of that slope, and there are people on it, of less achieving people. And it doesn't mean the school system's bad, and it doesn't mean the kids are bad, or the teacher's bad. It's a fact of life that some people just don't educate well.
They learn in a different mechanism.
A different mechanism at a different pace, and it's hard for a public school system to cater to 42,000 individual styles of learning.
Right. And the other piece of the puzzle, too, there hasn't been a major paradigm change in education in 160 years. And, as time goes on, something's going to happen to change that paradigm in some way. But, I think what's most important is that people be engaged in their community and in education. And I give you kudos for running.
Thank you.
Win, lose, or draw. It takes a lot of personal fortitude to stand for office.
Yes, thank you.
Al and I have both been elected officials in Allen Upton and me in Mendon, where we live. And I will tell you, my joke is first you get sworn into office, then you get sworn at. And that's not meant as a negative, because the school committee people, while Al is right that you have the legal things of hiring and firing a superintendent, the budget, in theorem, the calls you're going to get on, the coach won't play my son, I want a different bus route. What about this teacher? My kid's getting bullied. And those are the little things that you'll be engaging with the administration back and forth on, while you're trying to grapple the policy changes and things.
Yep. But I think, I'm going to use my personal experience as a teacher and also just as a business person. I think my track record shows that I work well with others, and I'm going to continue to do that. And hopefully, if I get elected to the committee, I'll have that opportunity to work in a collaborative environment. And I'm dedicated.
Right, and it is 7 people. It's a big committee.
It is a big committee.
And as the people who count say, you need 2 votes on the Board of Selectmen to do anything. You need 4.
I do. Yep, absolutely.
So, that's 3 more people you have to convince when you want
The good
something.
news is that it's an odd number. I served on a committee with an even number, so
Okay.
That's not fun.
It was not fun. Although I was blessed when I served. I served with 5 other people that had similar vision to where we should go as I did. So we worked great together, and we, as a committee, we accomplished a great deal. And I think if you go into a committee environment like that, you now the thing you'll learn is moving a committee in any direction is not an easy thing. It's kind of like herding cats.
Well, you reminded me of a question. I've asked this of everybody.
Okay.
This has to do with the high school dropping from a 5 to a 4 to a 3, which, people still don't understand the ramifications of what those levels mean. And I always put in context, by the way, of saying Massachusetts is ranked #1 of the 50 states for education. So always remember that whatever you think of Milford's ranking, it falls within the #1 state of the nation. So it can't be all that bad. But the question is, when things don't go right or things drop, do you as a school committee feel the administration or yourselves as a school committee member should be held accountable for that?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So, I mean, in this particular case, I think the data and the accountability is going to change. So the DESE will be restructuring and looking at how that number is calculated. Because I don't think right now.
Just for viewers, that's Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Yep. So that is something that's being looked at and it will be recalculated.
Yep.
And the level 1 is the highest ranking, and so right now we're at the level 3. So it dropped from a 1 to a 2 to a 3.
See, people hear that, but I don't think they even know what is that based on.
So it's a combination of a lot of things. Some of it is testing, some of it is the graduation rate. It's a whole lot of things. But that calculation will be changing, and so I'm hopeful that will continue to improve.
Now, when was the high school recertified?
Recertification? I'm not sure about that. I don't know. It's usually every 10 years.
Every 10 years.
So I want to say, I don't know. I'd have to look into that one.
Okay, because I don't know when it was certified, but I know that's a time when everybody jumps through hoops.
No, but I know there's people out there going, well, the high school dropped from a 5 to a 3, and on this web index we're only a this, and on that web index, and you start reading those web indexes and find out that they're it's like Facebook likes. People are going in and mailing in a comment. There's no subjective, rational thing that compares this town to that town methodically. It's, if I could go in and, I remember one day there was a contest to get lights for the field, and it was the more mouse clicks you got, and everybody was sitting down at night, because Mendon's a cheap town and doesn't have a lot of money. We were sitting down trying to do 100 votes a night to get at the free lights. And that doesn't mean that it needed the lights 100 times better than the next town. So you really have to look at these indexes people toss around and say, what are valid indexes?
What the content
And
is.
what's the context? And, is this a ranking that's been measured, year after year after year, not subjectively, but on an even keel across all towns? And who's the organization doing it?
That was supposed to be what MCAS was all about. MCAS was supposed to be a standardized test that everybody used the same testing mechanism so that there was universal results, so everybody could compare against each town. But
Okay. I got to correct you. The folks at home can't hear it. You just heard a little beep. We've got just time left. This is your time to tell the voters of Milford why they should vote for you.
Okay, so I think the Milford voters should vote for me because I'm hardworking. I'm very invested in education. I believe in public education, and I want to see each and every child, so all 4,200 students, do the best they can possibly be and be challenged to reach their full potential. And I think I'm the best person for that job. I'm a teacher, I'm a mom, and I'm also a businesswoman. And I want to use that skill set to help improve and enhance our town and our school system. So, because I'm invested in Milford and I believe in this community and this town.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And we both wish you good luck